What is going on, everybody? Taylor and Jacob here, back with the movie bracket from hell, apparently, with the way that this has been going. Really excited to be back doing this again this week. We've got some fun matchups. We've got some fun guests. Are you ready to just jump into this? Are you ready to do this?
Yep. This is week 4.
And before we bring in our guests, we've had the technical difficulty morning from hell as well. So if things go a little off the rails, that's going to be what it is. Our lights aren't working. There's all kinds of internet things. So we'll just see what happens.
Yep. But we do have some incredible and amazing guests. And we're going to start with making their glorious return after missing last week because they were moving. We have Mr. and Mrs. Jackal. How are yous?
Good. How are you guys?
We have first billing?
Are you guys ready? Okay. After last week and the swearing at me and the messages I got, I figure I need to give you guys some sort of compensation.
It was a hard week.
Jacob's trying to save his damn soul.
Yeah.
This is going to be a stream of mourning for the Jackals. They're still in mourning about what happened last week. So
fully in mourning, yeah.
For those of you who missed last week, I made everyone pick between Jurassic Park and Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl, and they all hate me for it. So yeah,
I took it very personally. I still am.
Let's not leave Winter Soldier out of this.
and Matrix and Winter Soldier. They had to pick between.
I had Winter Soldier going for towards the top. I thought it was going to be the qualifying rounds or something.
Didn't even make the first round. Sorry.
Rub it in.
All right. Who else are we bringing in?
We are also joined by the lovely Marisol McKee. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm feeling great. I'm so happy to be back. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. You ready for this week?
Yeah.
You ready for this one? All right. And of course, we are joined, as always, by the lovely Mara, and as well as Dan today. How are we?
Hello. How are you? Yes, Mara. We're amongst geeks here. If you're familiar with the special editions of Lord of the Rings, which I assume everyone here is, I am the mouth of Maron. That's not right. Anyway, I will be voicing Mara's thoughts on today's show.
I feel like it sounds better if you throw an L in there, just like Malron or something.
Malron.
Well, we won't. Don't worry, we won't cut your head off at the end, so you're all good.
I think Mara wishes that somebody would cut her head off right now.
Well, let's start this show with I think this one should be a fairly easy pick. Let's begin with, we have Priest versus The Mask of Zorro. Marisol, I'm going to start with you.
Yay, excellent. I touched briefly in our elegy for our eulogy for Curse of the Black Pearl last week. I touched briefly on how it revitalized. It's part of the films, the modern films that revitalized swashbuckling adventures, but it didn't do it before The Mask of Zorro did it in 1998. This movie is terrific. This was it was like an adrenaline shot to the heart for, I think, a genre and a sense of adventure that I think we all thought was missing and was gone for a while. I think we tried to get it a little bit with The Rocketeer and The Phantom in the 90s, but I think that Martin Campbell really brought it home with The Mask of Zorro. And I rewatched this movie many times, still to this day. It hasn't lost it a bit with age. The performances are all fantastic. Very high-spirited adventure. I could probably say a lot of things about it, but I think this is a really easy matchup, so I won't bat it back and forth too long. Priest is not terrible. That's probably the best thing I could say about it. Slightly dreary. I always used to confuse this in Legion with the Paul Bettany, angelic, martyr thing going on. I don't have much to say. It's really easily Mask of Zorro. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Lauren, we'll head over to you.
As much as I love Paul Bettany, I've actually never seen Priest. So I feel a little bit like a fake. But I love Mask of Zorro. That was a family favorite of ours. We watched it all the time on like a rotating, it was like A Knight's Tale, Mask of Zorro, Robin Hood Men in Tights. That was like the playlist. So I'll pick Mask of Zorro.
All right.
Oh, cool. I am very much like Marisol, where I think Priest and my mind doesn't go to Priest. It goes to a completely different movie for some reason. I just think Legion, and I'm like, all right, like Legion takes some swings, but that's definitely not the movie we're talking about. But I just don't have really much to say about the other one, like the one that's actually in the bracket. I don't have much to say about it, unfortunately. Mask of Zorro, I kind of am just going to highlight what everyone else has said. It really gave us a shot of adrenaline into the swashbuckling kind of films. It's a lot of fun. I think it is a huge embodiment of what we all hope the genre is a lot of the time. So this is an easy one for me.
Jesse.
So not to repeat too much of the same things, but I have seen both of these films. Neither of them are things that I've revisited a ton, but Priest was pretty instantly forgettable. Again, it's not bad. Sometimes when something's awful, you remember how bad it is. Priest, I watched it. I remember Carl Urban was a vampire, and when it was over, I was like, okay, that was a film that I watched. But Mask of Zorro, I feel like, has lived on throughout like the history of Hollywood. People still reference Zorro, and the cast is there. The score is great, and like Marisol said, it's did so much for like the swashbuckling genre. You can just feel the consistent energy, and it's a lot of fun, and it goes throughout the movie. Priest was, an obscure comic book adaptation with one of our favorite actors, Paul Bettany, in it. So it's enjoyable, but I just haven't really deemed it worth a rewatch. So my voice will go towards Mask of Zorro.
All right. And Dan and Mara.
So speaking for myself, I will not be voting, but I can say I know that Mara has seen Priest. I saw the credits when I came downstairs while she was watching it. The credits look solid. Solid credits. Great font. I don't know if they did or not. But my choice is not the issue here. This is Mara's choice. So she has picked The Mask of Zorro for the following reasons. Number one, the score by James Horner. Yes, by James Horner. And A. Hops, Anthony Hopkins. I mean, come on. Doing Zorro stuff. Cool fight choreography, which I'll agree with. Great sword fighting. Most importantly, it has a pony. So for those reasons, Mara has selected The Mask of Zorro to advance.
All right. And with that, Mask of Zorro does advance to the next round. Jesse, you have a question.
I was texted a question for the room here because we're all movie fans. From somebody watching, they says, ask who plays Don Luis and Father Quint in Legion and Mask of Zorro.
Oh yeah.
Anybody know?
No idea.
My tongue, because I know.
I don't even know who Don Luis is. That's not Don Raphael.
Sorry. Can you circle back to me?
I don't know off the top of my head. I feel like the Don Luis was asked recently, and I
Tony
forgot.
Amendola?
Tony Amendola?
That sounds right, maybe.
I
He didn't give me an answer, so
Mara
that's right.
Okay.
So we all just need to think about it. and
Okay.
then-
I think he figured that somebody was going to be absolutely sure, so I think that sounds. He just says vindicated.
believe it.
Why don't you go in the comment section, Sean? Get out here.
All right, let's move on
What's
to
next?
our next one. We have Wonder Woman 1984 versus Ant-Man. Jesse, I'm going to start with you.
Easy. Wonder Woman makes me freaking angry. I was that. What a just. I'm not gonna say a step down, a leap down from the first film. I kept waiting for it to get better or have redeemable moments, and then Cheetah happened, and you're like, yeah, it's over. This movie's just jumped the shark. Ant-Man is far from my favorite Marvel movie. It's somewhere around mid-tier, maybe even lower mid-tier. Most people like it more than I do. I enjoy it. I'm one of the few that prefers Ant-Man and the Wasp. But between these two, it's Ant-Man because I'll watch it again any given day. Wonder Woman 1984, if it wasn't for studying, I'd never want to watch it again.
Marisol.
I was processing that. I'm sorry. Um, um, Ant-Man, Wonder Woman 84. I'm not going to speak in generalization here. Like, I'm not going to assume that everybody else thinks the same way I do. Ant-Man is, for me, by a large margin, the most disappointing, the most forgettable origin story in the MCU for me. I I don't dislike it. I just feel it's one of the films. It's hard not to talk about a film in the MCU without comparing it to the rest of the MCU. That's impossible for me, and I'm sure for many people. So that's constantly what I do whenever these films come up in this bracket. And it was one of the first ones, but at that point, I was like, okay, I was recognizing the formula, like I was feeling it as I was watching it. And Wonder Woman 84, I cried 4 times at 4 different points while watching that film. It's very popular to trash this movie for some reason. It became widely trashed and widely thrown under the bus. Is it as spectacular as the first Wonder Woman? No, but I still think it's a great film. I still enjoy it immensely. I still am moved by so much that happens with it. I think Patty Jenkins really tries to channel so much of Donner in 84 more than she did in the original. And that really shows, especially in the beginning, in the beginning of this film. Would I have made some different choices with Wonder Woman with the pacing and would I have tightened up the script if I was God and I could snap my fingers? Yes, I would. I would change some things a little bit about 84 to tighten it up. But I still think it's a great film. I've rewatched it many times since it came out. And I think it is superior to Ant-Man. Absolutely. So I'm going to pick Wonder Woman 84.
Lauren, let me go to you.
What's funny is before I looked at the list, I was washing my hair, which is when I do my best thinking. And I was like, I have a feeling 84 is going to be on there. And I'm going to have to talk about how much I hate it. And I knew. I said, I know Marisol's going to like it. And I don't know why I know that. But I know that we're going to disagree.
Which is okay.
It's totally okay. And in fact, one of the things I was thinking about was that I'm glad that there are people who like it.
I agree.
Because it's important for female superheroes to get their due. And I think if everybody hated it, it would put a big roadblock in front of us. So I'm glad that you liked it. I hated it. One of my biggest issues with it was the anticlimax, which, as we talked about, I think worked really well for Doctor Strange. And with his character, I think it didn't work at all for Diana. She is a fighter. And for them to be like, well, she's kind of a pacifist. I'm like, is she though? Is she though?
She seemed pretty turned on by that Doomsday fight.
Yeah. I have a whole list of issues with 84 that we don't have time for. I personally really enjoyed Ant-Man. I thought for me it was a breath of fresh air because I love heist movies. I am such a sucker for a good heist movie. And so combining the MCU with the heist genre was really fun for me. I know it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, and I can live with that. But for me, it's Ant-Man because, wow, Patty Jenkins, I need to have words with you, baby girl. That was rough for me.
I'm going to go to Dan and Mara.
So Mara has selected Ant-Man for the following reasons. Number one, it easily could have flopped, but it is, as Mara says, so good. She's a big fan of the movie just in general.
I agree with Lauren.
She agrees with Lauren. She's a big fan of the genre blending, the idea of blending the superhero, all those superheroes, the heist type feel of it, along with your kind of more standard superhero film.
I'm gonna wade myself in at this point.
She's going to wade herself into this one. So Mara will briefly let me know if you need translation.
No matter how many cool things are in that movie, I cannot support it because I think it gave some really terrible messaging about consent. And so, and also R.I.P. Anthony, and those are my reasons.
All right, yeah. Her final reason is R.I.P. Anthony, which is unrelated to the other issues with Wonder Woman 1984, just a tribute to Anthony. So, yeah. So Mara's vote is for Ant-Man. Ant-Man.
This one's
Ant-Man. I don't-
this is an interesting one for me because I enjoyed Wonder Woman 1984 in the theater, and then I went on Twitter, and my whole life just ended with the way that people were talking about it.
Because we saw it like 2 weeks before it released, and then all of a sudden, and I was the one person who, when we went and saw it, didn't like it, and everyone else loved it. I'm like, oh god, I'm going to be the one person who doesn't like this movie. And
then the reviews and Twitter came out, and I was like, I'm just logging off forever because I can't do this. But this one's interesting because I had fun with 84, but it wasn't my favorite movie. But then a lot of the reviews came out, and it was very much hated. So I was in a weird place with it. I haven't really gone back to it since, but I enjoyed it enough when it was in the theater. I think I had more fun with Ant-Man probably just because I do like the heist element of it. I'm kind of a sucker for Paul Rudd things, which I don't know if anyone can blame me for that necessarily. But this is a strange one for me because neither of them are very high on my list of things that I would go to bat for necessarily. But I think I'm just leaning more towards Ant-Man in this instance.
All right. And Adam Collins in the chat, if he wants to let us know what he would pick. My pick would be Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man is the more entertaining film out of the two. I didn't hate Wonder Woman as much as a lot of other people did. I just walked out going, I just wasn't for me. I didn't think it was particularly good. I thought it's very long. It didn't need to be as long as it was. And it just ultimately didn't work for me. So I am going to pick Ant-Man for that reason.
As a non-voting member, though,
we
I
can
would
still be
like to
friends.
say I enjoyed Wonder Woman 1984. I would have picked Ant-Man personally, but I will say I think Wonder Woman 1984, and I share many of Mara's concerns, has some of the best superhero iconography and sequences of any superhero movie, not just DC or Wonder Woman, but like so many great moments. And I think that it just there were a lot of other things that sort of were ancillary to that. But I'm on record as having I enjoyed Wonder Woman 1984 generally, and it looks like it's one of those things. The score is closer than it looks, I think, because I think there's a lot of great things in the movie. It's just that there's a lot to take in.
Yeah, and we haven't seen the first Wonder Woman on this bracket list yet, have
Not
we?
yet.
Not yet.
It's coming.
That's going to do some damage, probably.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Deadpool versus the Wolverine. James Mangold's first Hugh Jackman Wolverine film. Taylor, I'm going to start with you, actually.
Oh gosh. Okay.
What's that?
This is an interesting one because I do enjoy the Wolverine. Not really a movie I've gone back to very much. I think Deadpool for me, I was so excited about finally getting it after it had sat on a shelf for such a long time. Oh, what do we got here from Adam?
Wonder Woman 1984 is a lot of fun, and I appreciate its weirdness, but Ant-Man edges it out for me because of Rudd and how well it established Pym's technology, which is a huge linchpin for the Marvel overall story.
Yep, fair enough.
Alright.
Deadpool, I was so excited about when it finally got announced that we were going to get it, just for how long it kind of sat on the shelf and they weren't going to do anything with it. I loved the idea of Ryan Reynolds in the role. And when I saw it, I just had such a blast with it. It just felt like such a true adaptation of what we all thought Deadpool would be like on screen. And by we all, I'm not trying to speak for everyone on the panel. I'm just saying general consensus at the time felt like everyone was really excited about what had been brought to life on screen, at least from the people that I was surrounded by in the film community. And as much as I was let down by the second Deadpool movie, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, the first Deadpool was everything that I wanted out of it. So I have to go with Deadpool.
Marisol.
Yeah, this is. I think the Wolverine could have beaten many other films in this bracket. I do think it could have, but it's not going to beat Deadpool. I think I may have said this there somewhere else that I think that Ryan Reynolds. I'm not always sold on him because I think he tries to fit his shtick into characters that don't necessarily call for his shtick. But he was born. His shtick was born for Deadpool, and that's just such a perfect marriage of an actor's on-screen persona just being such a perfect fit for a character. And are we censoring cat parts here? But yeah, I think, and I remember how excited I was, how excited the world was for Deadpool when it was coming out, and it did not disappoint. It didn't disappoint. It's pretty. Deadpool's pretty terrific. It put R-rated superhero movies really back on the map, and helped us push forward and get us Logan and things like that, and Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad. But the Wolverine gets props for being a vast improvement over Origins, X-Men Origins. It gets that, and I've rewatched it. I've only rewatched it once. But so fascinating. I like whenever you try to do at least something different, and taking Wolverine to Japan, and really exploring his history and his past through characters in a completely different setting that we had seen him before was a smart move. It was a sign of good things to come, and I'm happy that Mangold got another shot with the character. I have good things to say about Wolverine, but it's not beating Deadpool, so Deadpool it is.
Okay. I'm going to go to Lauren.
I too really enjoyed The Wolverine. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I thought it was cool. However, I mean, it's Deadpool. What can I say that hasn't been said? It was exactly what we all wanted. It was exactly what Ryan Reynolds wanted. I think is really cool. I think it's... Oh, come on, buddy. Can we not? Thank you. I think it's rare that sometimes actors are gifted a role as much as he was gifted.
Adam Collins is killing me right now.
As much as he was gifted Deadpool. And I think he has so much fun, and I think that shows, and I think it only makes the film better. It has to be Deadpool, but, much respect to Wolverine. It's a good film.
All right. Dan and Mara?
So I believe that Mara has selected Deadpool, and her reason is, and I quote here, Silver Samurai is cool, but he doesn't have shit compared to the Merc with the mouth. So it's really a vote for the coolness of Deadpool over the Wolverine.
The original quirky Merc.
And all the other smart things that you said.
All right, Jesse.
So a few things with this. I think what's interesting is to look at the background of these two. Like, Deadpool's the movie that never should have existed if you ask Fox, because there was that leaked fully CGI rendered cut scene with Ryan Reynolds doing the voice, which ironically when I went back and rewatched that scene, I find it to be funnier than what they actually put in the film. But anyways, it was the fervor that grew from that created the film and got it going and got it greenlit. And then Wolverine is somewhere there's the movie that should have been, could have been, but they restricted James Mangold so much, and they in the marketing they really marketed it as this is Logan's Japan story. We're gonna get him fighting ninjas. We're gonna get a deep dive into the character, and there's some of it in there, but there's a lot that I feel Mangold could have done more with, and I feel they handcuffed him, and you could tell that they did when you see Logan, and you're when they tell Hugh Jackman and James Mangold you can do whatever you want and tell your story, they make one of the best comic movies I've ever seen. It's in my top 5 ever, hands down. It's one of my favorite movies ever. And I like that both these movies were kind of what grew out of X-Men Origins. So they're tied in that, because we never would have got Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool if it wasn't for that film. And then the Wolverine was kind of a pseudo loose sequel to Origins. I find them both to be flawed movies, Origins and the Wolverine. But to me, Origins is kind of like entertainingly bad, and the Wolverine's just kind of like boring. It was the villains. The villains is where it fell apart because you had Viper and the Silver Samurai was basically a transformer. Sorry, I had a lot to say. I apologize. X-Men, I like it a little bit.
And with that, Adam also says the Wolverine is a great salvage job after Origins, but Deadpool was a promise fulfilled and a wonderful theatrical experience. He did appreciate Super Shredder's appearance in Wolverine, though.
That's quite a reference there.
All right, we move on. So Deadpool does move on. All right, RoboCop 2 versus Split. This is going to be an interesting matchup.
What? Two different movies?
Two very different movies. Marisol, I'm gonna
Me again?
Yeah.
Oh no. I'm still like. Oh God, I've only seen RoboCop 2 once, years and years and years ago. So this one isn't really fair. Well, that should be the answer right there. I mean, I've never revisited it. I've rewatched RoboCop like 3 times. The first RoboCop is great. Split is not amazing though. So this is actually Split is decent. This was actually a little tough for me because neither are particularly stronger than the other. I'm going to look at it in terms of the franchises that they're from. How about I do that? This is me making up. Way to get the answer here.
Whatever you gotta do.
Whatever works. Whatever goes. Is RoboCop the strongest in its series? RoboCop 2 the strongest in its series? No. Is Split the strongest in its series of films? I'm including Unbreakable and Glass in this, and I'm going to say yes, even though I don't think that it's a home run of a film. I think it's the strongest in that trilogy. So I'm going to go with Split.
All right. Jesse, where are you heading?
Well, Split, I agree with Marisol in the fact that it's not amazing, but it gave us promise because I believe Split came after The Visit, and I was like, whoa, is M. Night going to have a resurgence here? And it kind of felt like he was. And I thought Split was refreshing. I don't care what anybody says. McAvoy deserves some kind of Oscar nomination for either a combination of Split and Glass, because despite whatever else was going on in either of those films, he was on another tier. I enjoyed Split. I watched it multiple times. Some of it's not perfect, but it really was interesting. It kind of loses me in the third act. When he goes full beast, he starts climbing on walls. It's like, okay, well, this is different. But the fact that nobody knew it was an Unbreakable sequel until the end, I thought was actually a really great twist. You know, the M. Night movies are always, what's the twist? And the twist is like, I made a sequel. That's the twist. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Secret sequel.
And RoboCop is very blatant about its sequel-y. So I'm going to say the hidden sequel gets the win for me.
All right. Mara.
So Mara has picked Split. She said James McAvoy is brilliant, and he was effing snubbed. I don't know what the language policy on the show is.
The tagline of the show is "Fuck you, Jacob." So that's
okay. So he was fucking snubbed for all awards consideration. It has palpable anxiety with a deliberate pace and without gratuitous violence. And then she says, "Tell the theater story," which is when we went to see Split, there was a guy who it was a critic screening, which are usually a fair amount more reserved than an average screening. And there was a guy who like was sitting in our row, and he just, you know, he was on a different wavelength than a lot of other folks. And so at the end, when
he had said that with his
he'd already said he'd never seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie. This is his first M. Night Shyamalan movie. And at the end of the movie, when like they're in the diner and they're like, what was that guy's name? And then the camera goes through and it shows Bruce Willis there. This guy, and like screaming top of his lungs, goes, holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! He's like, I can't believe he did it. I can't believe they did do that. And everyone's just like, what? No. And then like, yeah, on the way out, everyone's just like, oh, are you a big Unbreakable fan? He's like, I've never seen Unbreakable. It's like, what are you so excited about? It was very interesting. He was
That's amazing.
quite impressed that Bruce Willis had shown up at the end of the. Apparently, that's what
He
He
Universal
probably
does.
he probably thought because he probably thought it was like a sequel to Die Hard. He probably
Yeah, that was John McClane, exactly.
Yeah.
It was interesting. But yeah, Samara votes Split as well.
Adam says RoboCop 2. Irvin Kershner made a bizarre but thoughtful sequel that doesn't completely land, and yet I really enjoy watching it. Split is solid, but I find Tom Noonan to be scarier. All right.
I want to
I've
say
always respected that there is a character in RoboCop 2 called RoboCop 2. Like, I think that is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is.
I want to say I wasn't quite on a level of not having seen anything Shyamalan before, but I had not seen Unbreakable going into this film. Like, Split was my first intro into this trilogy. I really enjoyed it. I didn't like. It was funny. It was a weird perspective because, like, you know, as you're watching it, people are like, "Oh my god, it's a sequel," and I'm like, "What? What is happening? I like this movie, but I don't understand what the twist means. I don't get it." But that being said, I enjoyed the movie for what it was, standing on its own. I kind of had my own perspective as not having ties to anything, not having expectations after I learned it was a sequel. That it was what it was. It was going to stand on its own for me. And also, I can't ever vote against James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy. So there's also that in there as well.
That's fair. Lauren.
Am I imagining things, or was Unbreakable on last week's show? Did I?
I don't know if we've done
I don't
Unbreakable
think we
yet.
have yet.
But
Let me find out where Unbreakable
Okay,
is.
I probably just imagined that.
Wait, actually, we did because I think I remember the word dower coming up many times.
I think it's fair.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I really like Unbreakable, and so I was really excited for the twist in Split. I feel like I'm just echoing what everybody else has said, but James McAvoy was absolutely phenomenal. He's always fun to watch, but it was fun to kind of watch him be like unleashed. They're like, you've seen James McAvoy, but have you seen James McAvoy on all the steroids there's ever been? Like, oh my gosh, no! How exciting! Yeah, Split isn't like the best movie of all time, but I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was scary where it needed to be. I thought the pacing was really good. I really enjoyed it, so I'll vote for Split.
We we did do Unbreakable. It fell to
it
survived against Men in Black 2.
Yeah,
That's what happened last week.
So I'm not crazy.
No,
you're not crazy. It just actually means that you actually watched last week, so that's good. Thank you.
I did. I was serious.
All right. Well, with that, Split does make it through. Okay, I'm putting a caveat on this one. Please, for the love of God, do not let this movie go through, because this is my worst movie on this entire bracket. We have Beneath the Planet of the Apes and Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Please,
which one on here, by the way, are you saying is the worst movie on the bracket?
Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald is one of the worst. I hate this movie.
Do you want to? You go first.
Passion.
You go first.
I've never seen Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and I don't care. Crimes of Grindelwald cannot make it through because I hate this movie with a die-hard passion.
We rewatched it recently.
Oh, I can't believe how bad this movie actually is. Like, how this, outside of maybe Transformers: The Last Night, which we've already eliminated, so that I don't have to worry about that movie anymore. This movie is just so painful to watch because it doesn't, especially as a Harry Potter fan, as someone who has adored this franchise, it has absolutely no idea what it wants to be through the entire movie. It has no idea what story it's trying to tell outside of we are part 2 of 5 of a franchise that is at this point not getting to 5. And there is no way we are getting to 5 movies. It doesn't land any of its stakes, any of its character development, it doesn't give you a reason to actually care about these characters. And overall, it's just boring. And that's, I think, the worst part about a movie in the Wizarding World franchise is that it is just boring, and I really don't like this movie. So I'm going to move on to someone else before I start crying.
I'll volunteer to shit on it for you.
Okay.
I am a huge Potter fan, and I hate this movie. I hate it.
We both liked the first one.
Yeah, the first one I thought was fun. This one, what a mess. What a mess. I mean, you know I'm a nerd because one of my biggest issues with it is that somehow McGonagall is a teacher before she's alive.
I'm not that. I don't care about the inconsistencies with that sort of stuff. It's more just storytelling.
I do.
But that, like, they should be able to keep that consistent from a Wizarding World perspective.
She wrote it. Like,
I
she's
know.
contradicting herself.
It undid pretty much all the character development it did in the first one. They built Queenie up to be this really interesting character, and they're like, what if she just was like super easily swayed to the dark side for no reason at all? How about that? And then they're just making up Dumbledore siblings. I hate this movie. I hate it. Jesse and I started Beneath Planet of the Apes. I think they got like
about 45 minutes into it, probably.
Yeah, and I was actually enjoying it.
Not as much as the first one.
The first one is better, but this one was at least interesting. And I don't have a like visceral hatred for it like I do Grindelwald. Thought the ending was stupid, and the middle was stupid, and the beginning was stupid. I hate it. I hate it. So as mad as I still am at you, Jacob, it absolutely is going in the crapper. I can't.
Marisol.
Yeah, I'm gonna join it. This is like that scene in Office Space where they're all like curb stomping the copy printer. And
I was ready for Marisol to go, but wait. I'm like, oh no.
No, let's just say that I'm bringing the bat. Okay. I'll continue this. Okay.
Unify or die.
No, kill it with fire. Yeah, it doesn't even matter what I think. It like you said, Jacob. It doesn't even matter what I think about Beneath the Planet of the Apes. It doesn't even matter. So I'm not even going to mention it because the real issue here is just making sure that Crimes of Grindelwald just rots in the seventh circle of hell. So that's what I'm here to do. It is, yeah. As a giant Potter fan, it's massively disappointing. It is a slog. It's a slog to get through. It's obscenely overplotted, just drowning in exposition, with joyless characters and overbearing cinematography. Just everything is just bleak. It's just wearing it. It's wearing such it's this sense of solemnness that it hasn't even earned yet with this series, because we don't have a connection to these characters. They have no light, they have no passion, they have no joy. We have no footing to stand on with them. They're pillars of exposition, and it's an extremely disappointing and frustrating watch. A low point in the entire Wizarding World series for me. And I can't say I don't want them to continue. I just hope that they completely revamp it so they can continue with these fantastic beasts and just flip them on its head. Supremely disappointing. Crimes of Grindelwald. So it's an easy pick for Beneath the Planet of the Apes for me.
So we've hit on one of the things that annoys me the most, which is that for a Wizarding World film, it's just boring.
Mm.
The other thing we've also hit on is they're just throwing out Dumbledores just all over the place, just for the fun of it. Just like, and you get a Dumbledore, and there's another one. Here we go. So that's annoying. Like the fact that that's supposed to be the big twist. I'm hoping that, you know, next movie they're like, psych, he was just trying to trick you by telling you were a Dumbledore, fake out, because that's
actually
just nonsense.
Palpatine.
Yeah, you're actually Palpatine instead. But one of my biggest gripes with this movie is what they did to Lita Lestrange and Zoe Kravitz. Waste. Yeah. Such a waste. It is just absolute garbage what they did with that character. Oh, I'm so angry. They had it in their hand to do amazing things with an amazing piece of casting, with a potentially fascinating character, with a great history, and they were just like, nah, I don't think so. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Just whatever. Like we rewatched it recently when I said I was never going to rewatch this movie in my life.
Schmodown does things to you.
I know. So we rewatched it, and I was just like, I hate it more than I originally hated it, which I didn't think was possible. So usually I don't like to just harp on movies that I hate, but this show is giving me the opportunity to be like, fuck you, Crimes of Grindelwald.
Let it all
I
out.
can't do it.
This is like
Dan and Mark?
Yeah.
I think you're onto something. I think if you were to reveal Lamar wrote a novel, I think if you were to reveal that the truth about a character's parentage that you were told in the first movie was a lie in the next movie, I think that would go over with fans really well. Mara, these are both movies that I've sat through on a personal level. This is me speaking, and enjoyed neither. But Mara and I are actually on the same page here. So Mara has chosen Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Even though it's pretty objectively the worst one, it's better than either of the Fantastic Beasts films. Crimes of Grindelwald failed to deliver on its promises, which would be Wizards in America and Fantastic Beasts, featured for reasons other than a Chekhov's gun or a MacGuffin. And then I think these are all in caps, so I think that these are very crucial points. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, excellent makeup. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, terrible wigs. So makeup has won over the terrible wigs.
Adam says, Beneath the Planet of the Apes has my vote. The underground cult of people dressed as condoms who worship an atomic bomb engaged me more than the fictitious Lestrange nonsense in Grindelwald.
What a way
Makes sense.
That's fair.
Jesse, last one.
All right.
Come on, baby, smash it up.
So I brought up that we enjoyed the first Fantastic Beasts, and this movie really just destroyed everything good about it. I thought Jacob Kowalski and Queenie's relationship was a little cartoony sometimes, kind of cutesy, but like it was charming still, and I fell for it, and I enjoyed it, and I wanted to see that continue onward. And she was always she was a little bit of a ditzy blonde, but then when you went to this one, she wasn't just ditzy. She was dumb, and she made really bad choices. And the logic behind them seemed like she was just like an angry high school girlfriend that got burned because she was too obsessed with a guy. I was like, well, that's awful.
We love when we dumb down women.
Oh, we love it so much. And then, there's all the talk of Dumbledore having the relationship with Grindelwald, and they're like, we're going to hint at it in a mirror. And that's what you get. Like, give it to us or don't. Like, don't say things you're not going to back up. It was already said it was the film of false promises across the board. They threw Nagini in that movie because reasons, I guess, to tie things up. It was awful. Beneath, interesting enough to watch some of it, and I'll probably continue watching it later. But, my hopes aren't super high, but I never want to watch Grindelwald again.
Mm-mm.
Are you satisfied?
Yes.
Okay.
It died. It burned to death. Now, this
Violently.
I think the real winner is whatever movie faces Beneath the Planet of the Apes in the next round, because that was just a guaranteed pass.
Well, here we go. It's going to be the winner of these two. Hulk versus Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Jesse, I am going to start with you.
Great. I'll make it real quick. I would put Order of the Phoenix above both Hulk movies. So that's it. That's the whole thing.
Okay. Lauren?
Gosh, you put Nick Nolte and Hulk dogs in one movie.
It did have Jennifer Connelly, though.
It sure did. Did that help? I don't think so. Yeah. Order of the Phoenix is one of my least favorite Harry Potter movies and books. I know why it's there and the purpose it serves, but it's so bleak. The others are dark but have levity, whereas Order of the Phoenix feels like a really long anxiety attack where you're just like, is it over yet? Can I breathe yet? But I would still pick it over Hulk any day of the week. My least favorite doesn't mean it's not good. But Hulk, what a mess. What a bright green mess. Yeah.
And like the varying sizes and stuff.
He
like
changes sizes and colors and all kinds of things. It's fun in the way that you like kind of make fun of it while you watch it, but not fun enough to win. So it's gonna be Harry Potter.
All right, Marisol.
I don't like this matchup. This matchup hurts me because I think that both of these can beat.
Hurts me too.
There, see, I think that both of these films can beat many. I'm looking at the whole picture, and I think both of these films could beat many other films in this bracket. I'm a defender of Ang Lee's Hulk. I think this movie is fascinating. I revisited it many times. Ang Lee is one of God bless Ang Lee. I'm so happy that I'm alive while he's alive, or yeah, that I'm absorbing film while he's just firing and making some of the best movies in his life. Not that Hulk is the best in his resume, but I'm so happy that they took a swing. This is one of those the earliest that I can remember, the swings of where you take just like an Oscar nominated, just a mega impressive director, and bring him to something where they take a swing and they put such a big prestigious director like this and have him adapt a superhero or a comic book movie. And I think to fascinating results. I find Hulk fascinating, and I think that it still dives into really just completely dissects the psychology. It's so fascinated with that. Ang Lee is so fascinated by what made Bruce Banner tick, and he structures the whole movie around that, around childhood trauma and how that shapes our lives. He focuses so much more on that rather than Hulk smashing things. And I dig it. I love that. I love that about this film. It always keeps me coming back to it. You've got an excellent cast of actors to support the whole thing. And pound for pound, I think 2003's Hulk looks better than 2008's Hulk. And I respond to this movie so much in all the ways that it is weird, all those little comedic touches where he puts actual comic book paneling in the film. Ang Lee's really trying. He always dips into his toes into different genres, and he took a swing with this. And I will always be more fascinated by this than a trying something out where a director dips his toes into a genre or a subject matter that he never normally would, and to see what comes out on the other end rather than just any standard boring paint by numbers action driven superhero movie any day of the week. That was a lot because my choice is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Because contrary to I think a lot of people that I talk to, this is one of my favorite Harry Potter books, and my favorite Harry Potter films, because it's the one where Harry got super angsty and puberty hit him like a freight train, and he was dealing with a lot of crap. He just saw somebody die, and he was mad and he was pissy, and he was feeling alienated and alone and cantankerous the whole time. And this movie captures that. It looks beautiful. This is the first time that David Yates took over, and he's hit or miss with directing these Wizarding World films, but I think that he did a great job with this. I love the look of it. I love how everything did get a little darker with it. I really enjoy this one. This has some of the best casting in the entire series. Imelda Staunton as Umbridge is there's probably no better embodiment of a Harry Potter character than Staunton in Order of the Phoenix. We have that to thank this film for, and that goes a long way. I love Order of the Phoenix. It's my pick. I'm sorry, Hulk. I would like to see you go on because I think you're fascinating, great, unique superhero movie, and I really enjoy rewatching you. But Order of the Phoenix.
I'm just gonna real quick give some of my thoughts. I completely agree with you. Hulk. I remember Hulk was the first movie that as a kid I walked out of going, well, that was bad. and not liking. Like, it was one of the first movies I can actually remember. However, having rewatched it since, I really, really like this movie. It takes a massive swing. It takes absolute just the biggest bets on whether or not on what it can do as a superhero movie. It doesn't always pan out, but at least I'm more happy that a movie will take swings and miss instead of just paint by numbers action films. And I'm glad that we have this Hulk film because it at least attempts to do new stuff. That being said, Order of the Phoenix is my favorite of the Harry Potter films because it's the only one of the Harry Potter films that actually has a villain that is genuinely terrifying. Umbridge is genuinely terrifying and is easily the best villain of the entire Harry Potter franchise. He says as a massive Harry Potter fan. And her characterization and just the way this film, it's the last one to actually treat it as a high school film. That this is a high school drama between in the Wizarding world. It's the last one to do that before and have the villain be essentially a high school villain it's the bad principal that they've got to go up against. And I really respond to that, and I really like that of, okay, and now we're going to get into the real meat of things in essentially the final trilogy, which is Half-Blood and Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. So I really love this movie.
She's a very interesting, grounded villain in the Wizarding world as well. It's not like this, crazy supernatural kind of monstrous villain. It's like a person you would run into in high school, just heightened a bit. She's one of those people that you can see yourself actually running into in any sort of context where it's a
woman with power who is just, I'm not giving up this power.
Yeah, right. Which is fascinating to see in this Wizarding world, and she just kills it. You and I have talked about how she's just snubbed. She should have gotten acting accolades for this film.
That was the one nomination that should have happened from this year. But...
All right, there you go. Ditto. I'll keep it short and just say ditto.
Mara and Dan.
It's also my favorite Harry Potter film too. You're the only other person I've ever heard say it's their favorite. Harry Potter
it's my favorite. It's
been
my favorite.
I'm the black sheep here.
Mara has also picked Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. She also thinks it's underrated. Imelda Staunton gets an A+. Goblet of Fire showed that the characters in the story can die, but Order of the Phoenix was the moment it got super real because of the death of Sirius, who is Harry's only remaining family. And the Dursleys don't count because they're douches.
Yeah. And I think also Order of the Phoenix is like Sirius's. Cedric's death has an impact, but because I don't think the impact is felt as much because that's his introduction film. Like it's the first time we've ever really seen Cedric. Having Sirius die has the impact of, oh no, someone can die.
It's interesting because Cedric's death is very much, someone like a student can die, and it gives you the shockwaves of the school feeling it. Harry's personal, actual one that really shatters him and then also shatters the audience in a different way is Sirius. Yeah, definitely. All
right, so Order of the Phoenix moves on. Okay, nice palate cleanser.
Hold on. We forgot.
We forgot Adam's. Sorry, Adam. Ang Lee's Hulk has more on its mind than a lot of comic book movies from its era and gets unfairly maligned. That said, Phoenix's climax with Dumbledore and Voldemort is a thrill. Phoenix by a hair. Yeah,
Phoenix hair.
That Dumbledore Voldemort fight is like the duel of the fates of the Harry Potter series.
Well, I also love that it shows like how little Harry and his friends know. You see Dumbledore and Voldemort do magic, and you're like, oh my gosh, how amazing for Harry.
All right,
magic, bro.
So,
oh no,
Kick-Ass 2 versus Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Like I said, palate cleanser, just
throw stuff at the wall.
Yeah, pick one. Taylor, I'm gonna let you pick first.
Oh, good. I love being the chaos agent that just throws stuff at the wall. Okay. Mine is gonna be very simple. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. Kick-Ass 2, Pirates of the Caribbean, it's a pirates movie. Pirates. Done. End. Over. That's it.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's it.
Okay.
Done.
Lauren.
Gosh, I don't really like either of these. I'm gonna pick Kick-Ass 2 because I think there's not a lot of redeeming qualities about Stranger Tides. And I think there are redeeming qualities about Kick-Ass 2. I avoided watching Stranger Tides for a really long time. And I watched it with Jesse, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did they make a Pirates movie boring? It just drags on and on and on and like doesn't really accomplish anything. And it made me so sad. And movies that are usually like so outlandish and fun, they made a really boring film. So Kick-Ass 2.
Jesse.
So for some specifics with Stranger Tides, it had the most lackluster villain. You come in, you have Barbosa, you have Davy Jones, you have Captain Salazar, even in Dead Man Tell No Tales. They're all visually interesting stories and stuff. And then it's just like Blackbeard, the most legendary pirate of all time, has a sword that can choke you with ropes. And I'm like, that's and I believe this was the mermaid one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one.
Rough take, guys. It was not the best. And then you have Penelope Cruz dressed up as Jack Sparrow, convincing people to join her crew. And I'm like, that's no. Anyways, it doesn't work on like any cylinder. You don't get Hans Zimmer back for this movie, and it's.
Without Hans, what do you have?
What do you have? Kick-Ass 2 is perfectly watchable. It's kind of juvenile, but you got Jim Carrey doing his best Jim Carrey with some fun prosthetics on. And it's good enough to beat Stranger Tides. Yep.
All right, Marisol?
Not super stoked about either of these. No, but the pirates like 4 and 5 are I really have no interest in revisiting those films. And Kick-Ass 2, I'm not the biggest fan of the first Kick-Ass in general. And it didn't get the second one did not change my mind. The second one only was about the same. Don't like the relationship between Hit Girl and Kick-Ass in that movie. But it does have Jim Carrey. If I actually have to hold the two against each other and just think of what is actually memorable and worthwhile and shorter, Kick-Ass 2 will edge out on Stranger Tides because at least we get Jim Carrey, and it's always a blessing whenever we get him in this day and age. So I don't have anything particularly interesting to say about either of these because I don't have a lot of passion or interest in either. So I'm just going to say Kick-Ass 2.
Dan and Mara?
So Mara has selected Kick-Ass 2 because the quality of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies decreases exponentially after the second one, and Kick-Ass 2 retains the same tone and tenor. There needs to be a Kick-Ass 2 ride at Disney now.
Oh.
Fair.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, you can just drive by and watch. Was it Big Daddy? No, is it Big Daddy? What was Nicolas Cage's name?
Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Big Daddy. Okay, yeah, just watch him get like tortured to death and set on fire. Sounds like a good time.
What a fun ride!
Hey, you got toads. Right to
Right
Adam
next to
says-
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
I'm not completely alone. I've got Adam in my corner here.
Yeah, Adam, not ashamed to pick on Stranger Tides here. Kick-Ass 2 loses the balance of carnage and commentary. Tides isn't great, but I also think it's a spiritual sequel to Blow, and I love Ian McShane. All right. All right, let's move on to our next one. We have The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies versus Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Two movies that are very different yet somewhat similar for me.
Mara
Jesse,
says
you
you can go first.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
yeah,
Mara.
go for
Okay,
it.
go
Because we
for
have
it.
the
Sorry.
same opinion.
So
Yes.
he can just talk and it'll be like what I said.
I'll talk and it'll be like what she said. We're both very aligned on Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, and that we like it. Maybe the most, except for maybe Force Awakens, it's kind of jockeying for position of the new Star Wars movies. It's just like, I mean, I know that I personally was very on the fence about that movie. I was just like, really? we know a story about how they got the plans for the Death Star, but they actually put together like a good. It's kind of like Suicide Squad, really. It's like the actually good version of Suicide Squad before we had this version that no one went to see. So I know that we both were very underwhelmed by the Hobbit movies, just because they are just the definition of filler and adding unnecessary stuff, and just should have been 2 films. The third one is just they're all way too long. They could have been a great 2 movies, but I know that for us it is Rogue One with a fairly easy victory because we both enjoy that film quite a bit.
All right. Tell.
Yeah, I'm also I don't even know anymore if this is the unpopular opinion, but I still kind of feel like it is. I love Rogue One. It's one of my favorite of the newer Star Wars films, definitely, probably of all the Star Wars films for me personally. I wasn't expecting to go in and enjoy it, but somehow I've heard a lot of people say they don't like it because they just don't have an emotional connection to the characters and then they die. For me, yeah, I'm looking directly at you as I say this. For me, I felt a lot of emotional connection to them kind of immediately, and then it really hit me at the end, even though I knew what was coming. And for me, that's one of the big reasons why it gets to me. Like, I just was immediately attached to this movie. I really like the story that they told. It didn't feel like it was just kind of a useless throwaway story. They actually came up with something that felt like it deserved to be made. It felt like it fit into, the galaxy of Star Wars very well. I'm the person that's like, I loved this movie, but I'm sad because, like, I know we're getting a Cassian extension of his story at some point, but I'm like, man, they died. I want to see more of these. Like, I just want more of them because I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep it short with that. I love Rogue One. I could talk about Rogue One all day, but I'm not gonna do that. The Hobbit movies, they're fine. Like, I don't know. They were just disappointing because they're long. There should have been 2 of them, 1 or 2 of them, not 3. And I'm just not a fan of what they decided to do with a lot of it. It feels like it's so much spectacle and just so much, and you just don't get a lot of meaning or a lot of purpose out of a lot of it, unfortunately. So I can't pick a Hobbit movie here. I can't do it.
All right. Jesse.
Am I the only one that the death that hit me the hardest in Rogue One was actually K2SO?
Oh,
Like,
destroyed me.
That
Destroyed
was
me.
rough.
Me too.
I was actually most emotionally attached to K2SO, but it's probably just because Alan Tudyk. But I really, really enjoyed Rogue One. Surprised nobody is mentioning the 2 best things Vader's ever done, which is the hallway scene and also a dad joke. So I appreciate that so much. 5 Armies, I'll be honest, it's still the movie that has eluded me. I keep thinking about watching it just to say that I have so I can have an opinion on it. I keep just not wanting to. It's so much time to invest in something is not going to be good. And Rogue One I've revisited several times. I agree with you guys. It's kind of like that and Force Awakens, even though I like Solo a lot too. They kind of go back and forth. I think one's a little bit more fun, but the other one really captures sacrifice, and it puts the war in Star Wars, and you get to get down and dirty with these characters, and I appreciated the adventure, and I'm very excited for Andor.
Okay. And Marisol.
Yeah. I'm channeling. I have nothing too different to say from many people here. I have frustrations with the Hobbit series because of everything everybody said. It's just it's really just fan fiction. These films are so padded with things that are not in that little book, and by the time we got to Battle of the 5 Armies, it was particularly exhausting. And it tries to act like it has the scope of Return of the King, and there's nowhere near the stakes or the scale. It's just such a pale imitation of what, just trying to duplicate the stakes. Like, you can't. It's not that level of an adventure. It's not. Bilbo was passed out for the Battle of the Five Armies. It's like a paragraph in the book. And it's a 2-hour and 50-minute film, apparently, though. Incredibly frustrating. I don't extract much joy from. I like Desolation of Smaug, but I extract little joy from Battle of the Five Armies for those reasons. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, as you guys are saying, is absolutely it's neck and neck with Force Awakens as my favorite of the new the 2010s Star Wars films. I really love it. I'm completely engaged. I found it completely compelling because it veers away from just the high spirited, everybody's going to be okay adventure, because it is a war story and because of the grit in it and because there are some serious stakes and consequences to this and people are dying in it. And the characters all know that. And like Dan, you were saying, it's almost a Suicide Squad kind of feel in that way. And that's when people have nothing to lose, characters become instantly 10 times more interesting to me when they know they've got nothing to lose. And they just don't give a fuck. And so they're gonna and they also kind of maybe are murderers or like we'll just kill other people in cold blood. So like when you have these like morally dubious characters at your center, I think it just makes for such a compelling and engaging adventure. And I was fully invested and heartbroken towards the end of Rogue One. It is absolutely the best, one of the best of the newer Star Wars films, and it's easily my vote over Battle of the Five Armies.
Lauren?
Well, first of all, my vote is for Mara and Dan's cat. But not only the movie, the trailer for Rogue One lives rent-free in my head. I don't know what it was about
the
that.
Sirens.
Yeah. It's always right here. I loved Rogue One. What a great movie. The cast was wonderful. The story was wonderful. Did we all know what was going to happen? Yeah, but it's still, the stakes felt so real and genuine. It was exciting. I remember seeing Battle of Five Armies in the theater, and that's about it. I don't remember much about it. I didn't enjoy it very much. As somebody who's really passionate about Middle Earth, like Dan said, it was frustrating to sit and watch filler. It's like, this is supposed to be the grand finale, and it feels like filler. Rogue One all the way.
All right.
Can I do a small add-on? I just want to recommend that everyone read Star Wars Catalyst. It serves as the prequel to Rogue One and sets up Mads Mikkelsen's character and Orson Krennic, and it makes Rogue One even better, and it adds so much to it. It's a wonderful experience.
Adam Collins says Rogue One, Five Armies is Middle Earth run through a WoW machine, which is fun to an extent, but Rogue One is one of the strongest Disney era films and paved the way for The Mandalorian. All right, we are halfway through, guys.
Nice. I saw a question, by the way, asking. I think some people are curious about Mara. She does not have COVID. She had oral surgery.
And my face looks like a grapefruit.
And her face looks like she thinks it looks like a grapefruit. I think she's adorable. There's a little small. But yeah. So yeah. Luckily, no COVID worries here.
No.
That's good. All right, let's move on to Guardians of the Galaxy versus Ghost Rider.
That's a great comic book right there.
That would be actually. That'd be a great comic book. Jesse, I'm going to start with you.
I don't know why this is so funny to me. Man, with all the talent and I want Nick Cage in a Guardians movie. That's my vote. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with Nick Cage.
Scraping at the door.
Honestly, and I don't know if it's popular or unpopular, I prefer Spirit of Vengeance sequel just because they went for it. I think Ghost Rider's not good, but Spirit of Vengeance, they're like, we're just gonna do it all. And it's one of those really bad Cage movies, but it's kind of fun to watch, kind of like Drive Angry, and he literally was driving angry. He was the Spirit of Vengeance. But Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Guardians of the Galaxy is a close to perfect film. Another one of doing the subverting expectations with the anticlimax. It was a dance off, bro. Guardians has my vote.
Marisol?
Oh, come on! This is the first by far the no brainer so far in this thing. God. I think the only reason I'll ever watch Ghost Rider again is if I'm torturing somebody and waterboarding doesn't work. Or
That's good.
that's the only reason. I was going to think of another one. That's the only reason.
You did. Yes. Yes.
No, it is so embarrassing and absurd, this movie. It looked ridiculous. I remember from the very first time I ever saw the teaser trailer for it. And it was, Nick Cage was on fire though. It did give us like mid to late 2000s Nick Cage, where he was just on fire between this, The Wicker Man.
It's always a treat.
Oh
Was it Sam
yeah.
Elliott in that movie?
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this movie's dog shit. But so yeah, by default, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my absolute favorite introduction films in this series. So fun. You're not gonna go wrong with James Gunn. He gets it. He gets the irreverence without ever forcing it. It's never canned. And it's an incredibly influential film. And he started created a whole new gang of misfits for people to idolize and model their superhero ragtag teams after. Love the dynamic in his crew. Really easily Guardians of the Galaxy for me.
Lauren?
Okay. I have so much fun with Ghost Rider in the worst way. It's not good. It's not good, and it's not my pick, but it's so bad that it's like a great comedy. One of my family's favorite quotes is just, "Do you still like Italian food?" It's just, it's a terrible film, but
Ooh,
Nope.
do we lose them?
I think we may have lost them.
the
Oh, no.
champagne glass of jelly bells also rent free in my head. You know, like they did that for what? They did it for me. That's who. Guardian of the Galaxy is a genuinely fantastic film, from start to finish. It's a great film. I think it surprised everyone because everybody was like, "A talking tree? What the hell is this?" But Guardians is wonderful. It's fun. It's got a lot of heart. It's funny. The action is great. So I will say Ghost Rider gives me a good laugh, but Guardians all the way.
Dan and Ma?
So Mara has selected Guardians of the Galaxy.
Say the positive things. These are the negative things.
Well, you mean like for me?
Well, we have same.
We have the same feelings. Yeah, it's a great cast. It's a great ensemble. It's a great soundtrack. It did defy that thing of like going in and like, what the hell is this? Like, as somebody being in the movie media space at the time, I do remember like the thoughts of looking at this movie and being like, well, it ends here. This miracle run ends with this one because nobody's going to go to and it ended up being so good. And that's always interesting to look back on is like, in retrospect, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy is great, but like we didn't know that going into it, and it really did surprise everyone. And it's just a really well written, a lot of heart, a lot of great characters, funny. Hard to really say too much negative about Guardians of the Galaxy. Ghost Rider, Mara says, is another addition to these movies. Those movies being 50 Shades of Grey and The Little Mermaid, in that you need to understand basic contract law before you sign.
Oh my god.
So just for the flaunting or the ignorance of basic contract law alone, Guardians of the Galaxy gets marked.
Fair. Adam says, first, if you hate Ghost Rider, give Nick and Eva another chance in Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, New Orleans, because it's great. Secondly, Guardians of the Galaxy is superior in almost every way, but Ghost Rider deserves a reboot. I agree with that.
Yeah. I just want to say Like Ghost Rider is not good, but I love the like just insane like Nick Cage version of Nick Cage we get in it, where he's trying so hard with the yeehaw energy. Like he's just so in it, and the movie's not good, but I like at least I remember like things about it because it's just so like when we sat down and watched it, I was like, what is this?
So we both watch it to like hate watch it. Is that what?
Yeah,
I'm hearing?
basically. Well, that's basically what I'm saying.
We watched it for one of these brackets.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have the matchup that will get me murdered by Mike Kalinowski. So we have Batman '89 versus The Shadow. Mike sees this, he's actually going to kill me. So Jesse, I'm going to start with you.
I was talking about my top 5 comic book movies at all time, and spoiler alert, '89 is part of that top 5. I love this movie unabashedly. I have a friend that I got into comic books that is a few years younger than me. He had never seen '89. He'd only seen the Nolan movies. He's like, I don't really watch old movies, which by the way hurt my soul. And I was like, watch '89. Let me show you what a Batman movie looks like. At least something that's like really.
'89 being considered an old movie hurts my soul.
I know.
Well, I'll throw out in the universe. It came out 4 years before I was born, but I still grew up with it. '89. Batman '89 is still my favorite. Maybe Pattinson will change my mind, but so far '89 is still my favorite Batman movie of all time. Still my favorite Joker. I mean, of course, there's Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I think Tim Burton was the perfect choice to do Gotham. You know, I'm not going to say that nobody can ever do Batman better, but I think that we'll be hard-pressed to find a better Gotham than Burton's. So much so that it inspired the animated cartoon, which has become absolutely iconic. And I hear Alec Baldwin's in The Shadow. My vote's for Batman.
Yeah, I kind of talked last week about how I feel about Burton doing Batman, how it is my favorite version of Gotham aesthetically that we've ever gotten. I just love how he explores it, how he lays it all out visually, the kind of world that you're put into with what he decides to do with Gotham. That definitely starts in '89, absolutely. I just love this version of Bruce Wayne and Batman overall very much. Burton is just 100% my aesthetic most of the time in pretty much any movie. So combining Batman with Burton is just, it's hard for me to not like against. There are very few things I think you could put this up against where it would be like, oh, that's you know, I'm not going to pick Batman. So that's where I'm going with that.
Next week will be interesting.
Next week is gonna hurt.
Next week. So when we get back to this one,
it's gonna hurt me, but it's fine.
Marisol.
Yeah. This one would. I have all the confidence in the world. Sorry, The Shadow, but I have all the confidence in the world. I know a lot about The Shadow, even though I've never seen it. Thanks to Mike Kalinowski. But even if I had seen it, and this is a pretty mean thing to say about a film, but even if I had seen it, which I haven't, I still think I'm sure it's not as good as Batman '89. I'm positive that it's not as good as Batman '89. It's easier to compliment this movie even with looking like since it came out, like the 32 years since it came out. And how influential it was. And this is the kind of thing I was talking about with Hulk, how exciting it is when you hand a superhero property to a visionary director. And you get one of the seminal, it's just a classic, like one of the most influential and memorable superhero movies ever made, besides, 78 Superman. And yeah, that pretty much goes without saying. It's weird to say. Is it my absolute favorite Batman movie out of everything that's been made now with Batman? No, it's not. But that's not an insult to it. I still think it's pretty great. And its legacy speaks for itself. So this is pretty easily 89's Batman.
Dan and Mara, are you all good or?
Yeah. No, we're good. Yeah, I was looking for something, but I found something kind of close. So I'll speak a little bit more because the Mara's selection is Batman '89 over The Shadow. But when I saw the movie in theaters when I was 6, upon its original release, I was the Batman kid. Like that was me. I was Mr. I can't get it to.
There we go.
There we go.
I used to run around in a cape when I was 4.
Yeah. So oh man, what's this camera? There we go. That's a little.
No.
Anyway, excuse me. So that was a huge movie for me. Still is. I've got that movie memorized. I've probably seen it literally 100 times. Like I have not only the Batman movie memorized, I have the Warner Brothers merchandise commercial that played on the VHS before the Batman movie memorized with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, where they're selling you ties. You could call a number and get a catalog to order Warner Brothers clothes and stuff, neckties. Yeah, the only thing we're missing is the Laserdisc. So I will say on a personal level, Batman '89 is like a center stone moment movie for me because it got me interested in comic books, which I would then keep going. Batman is still my favorite comic book character.
Hell yeah.
I think it's a legitimately good movie. I don't think it's ironically good. I think it's stylized, which a lot of people, it hits people a weird way sometimes, but I still think it's a legitimately good movie. Best feature work that Robert Wool's ever done. So our vote is Batman '89.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think Batman '89 is easily wins this. I'm sorry, Mike. Adam Collins says The Shadow deserved to go up against Grindelwald. Come on, Batman '89 is the ultimate testament to trusting a director and has boundless influence in and out of the superhero genre. Also, Prince.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. All right. Sorry, I didn't mention anyone. I didn't go to Lauren. Sorry. Yeah, I was like, I did not. I know I missed someone. Yeah, Lauren.
Here's my picture to match Dan's. It's hard to see, but there's
Nice.
2-year-old Lauren. Batman '89 was, again, one of the things that Jesse and I bonded over. I think the first thing was X-Men, and then we went into Batman, and we're like, wait, what's your favorite one? And then, at the same time, we're like, obviously '89. It's a masterpiece. I really think so. Is that maybe overselling it for some people? Maybe. But in my eyes, it's a masterpiece. Michael Keaton is my Batman. He's wonderful.
Nobody wears metal turtleneck.
Nobody wears a better turtleneck. Burton is a favorite of mine as well, much like Taylor. So combining those two was a real hit of serotonin for me. There's not much you could put on here that I would pick against '89, to be honest. One of my greatest fears was you doing Jurassic versus '89. I think I would simply pass away.
Well, luckily they were on different brackets. So,
For now.
If both '89 and Park make it all the way to the end, it could happen.
I can't do it. I love pretty much everything about '89. I think, like Dan said, it's not an ironically good film. It's just a good film. And it was the first Batman movie that little baby Lauren watched, and that's when I fell in love. I was like, yes, of all the superheroes, I like the angsty one. Batman '89 all day, every day.
All right. Well, Batman '89 makes it through, and that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Next, we have 30 Days of Night versus Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Jesse, I'm going to start with you.
Listen, I have to put out there that the Mad Max franchise isn't for me, and that's no crap talking about it. That's nothing negative. That world doesn't work for me. I granted Beyond Thunderdome has Tina Turner. That's pretty cool. But 30 Days of Night has one of my favorite gifts to use in chats, which is just Danny Houston going, "No God." And so for that'll work for me. 30 Days of Night, please. And thank you.
Marisol.
This is again another. Mostly, I mean, I haven't rewatched any of these. I didn't do like rewatches before any of this, so this is also another rough one for me because it's so scattershot. My memories of Beyond Thunderdome. All I can really concretely say is that it's decent. I remember some really vivid imagery in there, and of course, Anti-Entity is pretty awesome. But definitely not my favorite Mad Max in the series. I don't think I would be hard pressed to find anybody who says it's their favorite. But we're comparing it to 30 Days of Night. And 30 Days of Night, I was completely unfamiliar with the graphic novel before I saw it. So I went into a pretty green, or pretty whatever you want to call it, having no knowledge of it before. And I just remembered that I was just kind of like, whoa, this is intense and this is scary. And I was, even though I don't think the movie is spectacular, I do think that it is a very visceral adaptation, a visceral story with a high level of suspense, and well told for what it is. And I still felt like, absolutely felt the terror and the claustrophobia, and the threat of these creatures. Those things are straight up feral. And I always felt the danger. And even though the characters, the stars of the movie, are just like cardboard cutouts, and I don't particularly care if they die, I feel bad for them because these creatures are terrifying, like legitimately terrifying. And that right there makes it a little more memorable for me. So I don't think particularly by much, but I will edge out 30 Days of Night over Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah, I the first thing that comes to mind when I think of 30 Days of Night is the trailer reaction I did to 30 Days of Night, because someone a couple years ago was like, react to this trailer, and I watched it and I went, oh no. I didn't know what I was getting into with this. However, it has two of my favorite things in it. One, vampires. Yes. Like, especially when they're just like done to a point where you're like, oh, this is like straight up actually terrifying. But also you've got Josh Hartnett, which most of the time is like I have to suffer to watch him on screen because of the things that he ends up in are just like painful. There are a couple exceptions to that, not many, but I'm gonna pick 30 Days of Night.
Lauren.
I actually haven't seen either of these, so I'm gonna trust my compatriots here and pick 30 Days of Night based on what everybody else has said. So there you go.
Adam says 30 Days of Night has an amazing premise and is one of the rawest vampire films of the modern era. I enjoy Thunderdome a lot, but I revisit 30 Days of Night often and I want a sequel. Mara and Dan?
So I'm just going to read this as it goes because I don't know what you picked either. So Mara says, neither are exceptional, but also not pieces of shit. Tina Turner equals badass, but 30 Days of Night has Danny Houston as a vampire. What else do I need in life?
That's fair. That is very fair, and I can definitely appreciate that. All right. But 30 Days of Night moves on. We then move on to The Punisher from 2004 with Thomas Jane and John Travolta versus War for the Planet of the Apes, the final in the Andy Serkis trilogy. Marisol, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, okay. I actually kind of like 04's Punisher. I mean, Sec bad? Yeah, I actually kind of like it. Anytime. I do like the series with John Bernthal a little more. But I wasn't mad at the '04 one. I also have, maybe I'm a little biased because I had a massive crush on Thomas Jane. And I always wanted to see him like get a chance to do something really intense and really serious, get a really meaty, dramatic role like that. And so I liked him in that. Travolta is fittingly, I think, over the top in it. Never took me out of the movie. I was into Punisher. I'm going off of memory with this one. Sorry, I don't have detailed notes on this, but that being said, the Planet of the Apes, the new Planet of the Apes series got better and better with each one. And I think War for the Planet of the Apes I think it's terrific. I've only seen this one once, so this is another just like kind of just really going off of what I remember the first time I saw it. But yeah, this had evolved. The series had really evolved, and it washed away. By this point, we had completely washed away Tim Burton's '01 failed reboot. And I don't have. Everybody can say something better than I am. The point is. I'll get to the point. The point is, my vote is for War of the Planet of the Apes, even though I do like '04's Punisher. And I think it deserves a revisit because I think it doesn't get enough credit, and it's actually pretty decent. Certainly better than like Daredevil, than those other dark superhero films of that time. So revisit Punisher, but vote for War for the Planet of the Apes.
Jesse.
At first I like chuckled, and then I was like, wait, no, this is harder than I thought it was gonna be. So I just want Marisol to feel a little bit more validated. You don't have to feel bad for liking Punisher '04. I freaking love that movie.
You're never wrong for liking something.
But the Punisher was actually 4. So I was 11 or 12 when I saw it. It was like my first experience because I love comic book stuff. It was one of my first R-rated comic book movies that I saw, and I wasn't supposed to. But my sister had that, and so I'd go in and always rummage through her DVD collection. So I was watching South Park Seasons and The Punisher over and over again. John Travolta was great in this. What I loved was the exploration that Punisher cannot just physically shove a knife through your chin, but he can also tear apart your entire business company, make you kill your own people. He mentally went after Howard Saint, and I think that is something that's not explored enough with Punisher. Usually it's just bam, bam, bang, bang, stab, stab. And Thomas Jane's actually still my favorite Punisher. I think John Bernthal is a great fit. I loved what he did with the character, but this movie, we'll bring up Rent Free one more time. Punisher '04 is rent free in my head at all times. Now, War for the Planet of the Apes is the only Apes film to make both of us cry. So I'll put that out there. Really enjoyed it. It did feel a little long, but it was also emotionally engaging. But I'm just going to leave this with sometimes nostalgia wins out, and today's that day. I'm voting Punisher.
Wow. Okay. Taylor.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me because the '04 Punisher I like a lot more than the sequel, which doesn't seem to be a very popular opinion a lot of the time. Punisher '04 was just exactly what I wanted. Tone-wise, I love Thomas Jane in the role. I think he's fantastic. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't have a lot of fun with the sequel. To me, it's not a fun time. This one is just fun. It was kind of a breath of fresh air as we were going through a lot of those older superhero films, like in that slate where we just went through so many of them.
We did Blade. I think we did Blade, Elektra, Daredevil, Ghost Rider.
We just did a lot of them all at one time, and this was one that sticks out for me as just one that I remember having a lot of fun with and really enjoying. War for the Planet of the Apes is like, it's hard to compare them because it's just on such another level in terms of filmmaking goes, and in terms of acting, and in terms of just the emotional impact. So it is tough. I think just because I feel more like I feel more like I would enjoy putting on The Punisher. I'm going to vote for The Punisher.
Interesting. Dan and Mara.
So Mara says Punisher, Thomas Jane's portrayal worked for her. The fight with the Russian was really cool. Roy freaking Scheider is in it, which always good for me. But War for the Planet of the Apes, awesome Easter eggs and homages to the original films and callbacks, tie-ins, etc. Everyone else said awesome stuff, and Mara agrees. And then 2 words, Andy Serkis, which I agree with that.
Yeah.
I remember when that movie didn't do well at the box office, I was sat there thinking, like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
Exactly why nobody makes like thoughtful, deep, like expensive movies anymore, because everyone says they want them and then no one goes to see them.
It was so sad.
See Blade Runner 2049, more than likely Dune. More like just
say that.
Villeneuve's career. Lauren.
I haven't decided. I'm gonna try and talk my way through this one. This is really exciting for me because I've never met so many people who also love The Punisher. Again, I feel like I say this a lot, a family favorite. We quote this one a lot. My dad's favorite quote from it is, "Are you on drugs?" "Not right now." It's a great movie. Whenever I got dumped, I would watch The Punisher afterwards. It was very cathartic for me.
That's amazing.
10 out of 10 would recommend. It does the heart a lot of good. I love the popsicle scene. I think that scene is hilarious.
It's so good.
It's so good. War for the Planet of the Apes surprised me. Jesse had me rewatch them all with him for study, and they were ones that hadn't interested me, so I didn't see them in theaters. I'm sorry, Dan.
Part of the problem.
I know, I'm part of the problem. I really liked them. I was very moved by them. Of course, like Mara said, there's nothing Andy Serkis can't do. What a man we don't deserve. I was really moved by it. Specifically, the last one I thought had such an emotional impact. And so I'm having this war in my heart between nostalgia and, a film that I thought was excellent and really moved me. And I just, not talking about it would help. I don't know. I think Punisher's really underrated.
Can I ask, which of these 2 would you want to see fight another movie? Does that help at all?
Ooh.
Like, go farther
Well, okay. Here's how I'm going to justify it, because I don't feel good about this. There's 2 other Planet of the Apes movies, like from the newer ones, that are also both excellent. There's only one Punisher 04, baby. And so I'm going to choose my high school heartbreak and pick Punisher.
All right.
I like that Marisol thought process. It's good. It's good.
Hey, no, respect. I love it.
Adams picked War for the Planet of the Apes. 2004's Punisher is a mixed bag of melodrama and facial explosions, and Jane's fight with Kevin Nash is a delight. But War for the Planet of the Apes finished the trilogy with panache. That leaves... Dan, I think you have the tiebreaker, if you don't mind. Would you like to give the tiebreaker? Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. I wasn't even keeping track.
No, yeah. So it's me, Marisol, and Adam all voting for War, and Jesse, Lauren, and Taylor, and Marisol. So and Mara also voted for War, didn't you? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's.
Well, you technically didn't.
Oh, I
vote.
haven't voted. Yeah. So Dan, you have the decide. I'm going to give you the deciding vote.
Oh, well then I'm finally going to deliver to War for the Planet of the Apes the victory it's so richly deserved with the audience and the box office receipts, because I really love that movie. I think I get why it didn't do well. It's like it shouldn't have come out in the summer. It's a fall movie. It should have come out in like October, November. It's much more that vibe. So, but yes, for me, it's fairly easily War for the Planet of the Apes, because I just think I love that trilogy. It's one of my favorite recent trilogies of recent, like I said, times. Yeah.
Well, now I feel less guilty for picking nostalgia. So
I'm
not mad.
War for the Planet of the Apes makes it through. That's actually been our closest contest. I was not expecting that. I'm not gonna lie.
We love Thomas Jane here.
Well, we've got another one coming up that's going to be very interesting. So that I think Mara's going to swear at me if she can. So we have Oblivion versus Two Guns for now. However, so it's coming. The bad one's coming. But we'll start with that one. And Taylor, I'm going to start with you, actually.
This one just makes me laugh because there was a question. I don't know which match it was, but there was a question in the Schmodown that came up in the answer. It was either a Two Guns answer or the question was just a Two Guns question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure is what it was. And we were watching it, and immediately right away I was like, oh, it's this. And he just looked at me like, how the hell do you know anything about Two Guns? And I was like, look, okay, back when I lived in the States and I had my little group of friends, and we would literally we would just put on Two Guns. We would just have group night. I don't know what to tell you. It was just a thing that they would be like, oh, we're just going to put on a movie. And they'd be like, all right, Two Guns. And so I know way too much about that movie. I don't know. It was just a thing that happened. And so now I know a lot about this movie that now it helps me because I'm in a showdown situation. But before that, it was just okay, I guess this is happening. Oblivion, I actually haven't seen. So I don't really have anything I can say about it. So for that reason, I have to pick Two Guns just because that's all I got. I don't have anything to go off of with Oblivion.
Fair. Lauren.
This one is just kind of a meh for me all around. I think I'm gonna pick Oblivion though, just because it was better than I expected it to be. I don't think it was a great movie, but I thought the premise was intriguing enough to remember it more than Two Guns. So I'll pick Oblivion.
All right, Marisol.
Oh, sorry. This shit ain't scientific, guys. Sorry. I haven't seen Two Guns. Never was interested in seeing it. We should maybe say something. I did see Oblivion, however. So you'd think that would automatically get my vote then. But Oblivion's... I didn't like it. I just so I've been here before where I was like, do I just take a chance and vote for a film I haven't seen because the likelihood of it being better than a film I saw and didn't like, is kind of high. I don't know. This one, this is a ditzy one for me. I don't know. So I would look, just on paper, Oblivion does sound like the more interesting film. It at least the premise is more interesting than the premise for Two Guns. All right, screw it. I'm not going to embarrass myself more by talking. I'm just going to pick Oblivion.
Okay. All right. Jesse.
All right. Sometimes we have great reasonings for our choices. Sometimes we don't so much. And much like Marisol, I've seen Oblivion. Ding, ding, ding. I haven't seen Two Guns, but exactly the same feeling. I was like, do I just go with what I've seen? Probably not, because I didn't like it very much. Yeah. I think it was watching that film, I was constantly not in a good way. Why? And then at the end, why? And so that was my ultimate feeling coming out of it. So I just went to Two Guns on Google here. That's what I was typing on the side. I was like, who's in this movie? Fred Ward from Tremors and Remo Williams? Hell yeah. Two Guns.
Of course it comes back to Tremors.
Always
of
back to
course.
Tremors.
Adam
Sound
Collins
logic.
says, Two Guns has the personality and Oblivion has the aesthetic. Between both, I'd rather revisit Two Guns because of Denzel's inability to suck. Oblivion does have man bun Jamie Lannister, however. I will never understand this hatred that Oblivion's getting. Yeah, it's not a great movie, but I still really enjoy it. I think it's still a good movie. Like, I think it's solidly made and very entertaining. But
Good for you. Say
Yeah.
your piece.
yeah,
Give Oblivion.
I would
its
definitely
credit.
be going Oblivion. Mara and
Look,
Dan.
I still voted for you.
Mara and Dan.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
No, that's all right.
He's gonna go while I fill up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is actually a difficult decision. I have a pros and cons board that Mara's written out here. So Two Guns, Big Dumb Fun, Bow to the Almighty Denzel, which we all must and should.
Yes.
Oblivion. I like that it wasn't afraid to spend the time showing us versus telling us, but it could stand a teeny edit for pace, perhaps. Love this version of Aliens dystopian future. So this is a very difficult decision for Mara. But she eventually decided to go with Oblivion over Two Guns in a squeaker.
All right. Well, and with the squeaker, Oblivion makes it through. Two Guns has.
I'm sorry, Denzel. We failed you.
Two Guns has been eliminated.
I'm
All
sorry,
right.
Fred Ward.
Next up, we have Kingsman: The Secret Service versus Star Trek III: The Search for Spock. I'm going to start with this
Yeah,
one
you go for it.
because there's a few movies in this bracket that I actually do want to talk about. I still, to this day, adore Kingsman: The Secret Service. 2015 was a great year in movies. It's probably one of the best years in movies we've had in a while, outside of maybe 2019. Kingsman was one of the best movies I saw that year because it was just fun, over the top. It was something I'd never seen. It was something I didn't know I wanted until I saw it. And it was just this absolute little gem of a movie that also no one was talking about because it came out the same weekend as 50 Shades of Grey. So no one saw it. And then it made it, but somehow made enough money to get a sequel. And we now have a franchise of it, which I don't completely understand, but I'm happy because I get more Kingsman movies. That being said, Search for Spock is a really great Star Trek movie. It is a really good Star Trek movie. It's probably the best of the, outside of the reboot, it's probably the best of the odd numbered movies. So
I was
it's
like,
probably
better than Wrath of Khan.
better of the
Or Voyage
odd
Home.
numbered ones where the odds are the bad ones.
Yeah.
But I am going to go with my heart and I am going to pick Kingsman: The Secret Service just because that church scene alone is just that church scene was I'll never forget being in the theater of that and having the grandma who didn't realize it was an R-rated movie about 2 seats behind with a 7-year-old and just freaking out was one of the funniest movie-going experiences I've ever had. So yeah, I'm gonna go Kingsman.
I'll be the tiebreaker if
All
we
right.
need to come around.
Jesse.
Much like what Jacob said, it's that church scene. I think this kind of ties for me what people are saying about the Suicide Squad right now. There's certain tastes that are out there, and not every film or every filmmaker is for everyone. And Kingsman swung for the fences. I love the stylized choreography, especially the video choreography. Was awesome. The music was great. It gave us something different that wasn't afraid to have people die but still be comedic and have some dark things in there. They're like, hey, if you want to be a Kingsman, you got to kill your puppy. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Samuel L. Jackson is just the most over-the-top villain. It was incredible. You got Colin Firth, you got Mark Strong, so the cast was great. I think it's a really good time. Search for Spock has, speaking of over-the-top, a wonderful portrayal by Christopher Lloyd, and it'll always have that. But unfortunately, it's not enough to beat out Kingsman.
Denmark.
We're a Star Trek household here. It's one of the very
That's
first
fair.
things we ever talked about.
We had to talk it out before we
Yeah, we had to consult. I will say, and we've talked about this before, Star Trek 3 has one of our favorite Star Trek moments, which is as they're standing on Genesis and the Enterprise is going through the atmosphere, and Kirk looks up and he says, "My God, Bones, what have I done?" And Bones says, "You know, what you always do. You turn death into a fighting chance to live." Like, oh my God, that's just those character moments are so. It's what makes us Star Trek fans. It's just so good. And that whole destruction of the Enterprise and everything is just the key Star Trek moment, and it's so well executed, and the whole
it started
ploy.
the snowball effect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of great things in Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. However, we're also both very big fans of Kingsman: The Secret Service. We call it a January surprise, which is a movie that comes out in January. It's like, oh, I bet it's not very good then. And then it's like, oh, wait, this movie's awesome. Samuel L. Jackson, I know some people don't like, or like he's doing something weird.
Hit or miss.
It's hit or miss with people. It's hit or miss with people. And it hits with both of us. Sophia Boutella with the blade legs and just the humor. Colin Firth being very proper and English and gentlemanly.
A small role by the guy that played Commodore Norrington in Pirates. What his name?
Small role from
Jack.
the guy who played Commodore Norring in Pirates. His
Davenport.
name is
Oh.
Jack Davenport.
Jack Davenport?
Yeah.
Is that who it is?
I've
Yeah.
forgotten
Yeah.
his name like 18 times.
The
So
original
Mara always
Galahad,
plays
I think.
Yeah.
Commodore Norrington and Jack. Anyway, it's a great action film. It's funny. It's cool. It looks great.
The casting was genius because he's a gymnast.
Casting is great because Taron Egerton just fits that role. So yes, many great things that we love as Star Trek fans and Star Trek: The Search for Spock, but we are casting a joint vote, but only counts for one, as for Kingsman: The Secret Service.
That was supposed to come out like 2.5 years ago. Like it was delayed before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren.
Well, I'm gonna break my dad's heart again.
On a roll with that.
I know. You guys have already said beautiful things about both. My favorite Star Trek movie hasn't shown up yet, so I'll save my vote. Kingsman, hear me out. Here's my comparison. This is how my brain works. Kingsman, for like a comic book movie, was kind of like Pitch Perfect for me, in that it was like such a fun surprise, right? Like nobody knew what to expect from either, but then they were like, oh wait, hold on a second, that was kind of cool, that was kind of good. I really liked Kingsman. You guys talked about the church scene. For me, it was the fireworks as the heads were exploding. I thought that was hysterical. I thought it was just such a good surprise. Search for Spock is an excellent film. It's not my favorite Star Trek film, but I think it's really, really well done. And all the moments you guys talked about, they still hit. But Kingsman was just such a treat. I'm sorry, Dad. Please still love me.
Adam Collins says, "Search for Spock, please and thank you. Kingsman is cool, but Spock gets a eulogy and resurrection in the same film, which also serves as Nimoy's 2 cents on the character since he directed Love Star Trek 3. He is very correct, and that one actually is a lot more. This one is a lot more painful than I thought it would be." Marisol.
I'm glad you saved me for last. Hold on to your butts because I got something to say. All right. Hot take central. I do not like Kingsman: The Secret Service at all. I'm not going to say at all. Hate is a very strong word. I know it's a hit with everybody in the world. It is not a hit with me, and I'm one of the things that exhausts me is and doesn't ever impress me is I'm never impressed when I watch the Kingsman movies. And the second one, it gets even worse in the second one because I don't like digital action. I don't like you guys are talking about the scene in this church. That is one of my least favorite action scenes I've ever seen because it's so false. It's not tangible. It's not real. It's not happening. It's such a fabricated computer generated action scene with fake camera movements, and it's not, there's nothing exhilarating about that to me it's a science experiment. It's not. Oh, sorry. I'm getting ranty.
Don't be sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. No, I'm not sorry. But I find these Kingsman films so detached from reality. It's exhausting, and the heads exploding is fun, but then they take these weird detours. And Vaughn does this in his films, and he takes these weird detours where he just beats home a joke, a tasteless joke that is just not funny. Or in poor taste, like the thing with the Swedish princess, and she loves anal sex, and I don't get it, and he thinks it's so funny, so he keeps beating this joke home, and he doubles down on it in the second Kingsman movie with this girl with the GI, the gynecological exam that we're gifted to as an audience on this girl, but I don't. They're just not a hit with me. They're just not a hit with me. I'm not entertained by digital camera work, by not digital cameras, but you know what I mean, like action scenes that are fabricated. That's not somebody actually doing stunts on a set, doing these action scenes. It's not something happening in real life. It's something strung together in After Effects. And that completely takes me out. That's not thrilling to me. That's not exciting to me. And that's so much of what these Kingsman films are predicated on. And it started with the first one. And everybody's quite smug. There is a good movie inside Kingsman somewhere. It's just not my bag. It's not my bag. And maybe this is a thing with me and Vaughn, because the Kick-Ass movies weren't quite, I like more than the Kingsman movies, but the Kick-Ass movies were not quite home runs for me either. But yeah, that's, suffice to say, Kingsman wasn't a hit for me. The flip side of that, Star Trek Search for Spock is by no means my favorite Star Trek film, but with Leonard Nimoy taking over, and we having to deal with Spock's death in Wrath of Khan, I think this was so deserved to have a film just kind of devoted, so lovingly crafted around remembering that character. And there should be an entire film dedicated to everybody like on the crew trying to it's so lovingly crafted and crafted for a character, one of the central characters in the whole series, and a story around something very personal and intimate and cerebral, and it pays a great homage to the character and what makes him tick, and diving into his history, his past, what is important to him as a Vulcan, and part of how you revive that character. And that becomes a crew's whole mission and the point of the whole movie. And it's not my favorite one, that being said, but there's so much more to connect to and to feel. And for me, that I feel so much more in that film than I ever feel in these Kingsman movies. Samuel L. Jackson, it's like, I don't know, is he sillier in The Spirit or in Kingsman: The Secret Service? I don't know. Both are pretty silly as far as villains go for Samuel L. Jackson. But I'm sorry, that's such a miss for me. Secret Service. This is so easily The Search for Spock.
Stop apologizing.
Yeah,
it's a thing. It's a tick.
I actually like when we disagree, Marisol, because I feel like you always have really like genuinely good thoughts, and it makes me think about it. So I actually like when we don't agree, because I think it's more interesting.
I do love discussion. I love discussion with people. I love hearing different takes, even if I don't agree.
Well, unfortunately, it does mean Kingsman: The Secret Service does move through. However, we do have two final rounds. We have two final rounds to go. Back to the Future versus Jurassic Park.
I can live with this.
Lauren, where are you going?
You guys are going to be so mad at me.
Oh, no.
Don't worry, because I think you're going to have some support.
I like Jurassic Park 3 so much more than other people. I know it's a step down, and I'm okay with it. I told Jesse that I liked it more than other people, and So he rewatched it with me and he was like, oh, it's better than I remembered it being. I'm like, that's enough for me. That's enough. Just you saying it was better than you remembered gives me some little piece of satisfaction. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry. You guys are going to hate me. I really like Back to the Future, but it doesn't resonate with me in the same way that the Jurassic Park films did. Maybe something's wrong with me. I know that they're like a holy grail for everybody else. That's Jurassic for me. Even the third one. Yes, the raptor saying Alan is ridiculous. I don't care.
It is the best. It is the best.
Alan.
It works for me, okay? And I loved Billy, and I loved the relationship between Grant and Billy. I thought was really interesting. I'm sorry. I'm voting for Jurassic Park 3. I know it won't go through,
Hey,
but
Stop
I can live with it.
apologizing.
Give her the support.
I'm getting on this Jurassic Park 3 train.
Oh, God.
Let's go. I've talked about it on the show before. I think Back to the Future is fine. Like, I think it's fine. I don't, whenever Jacob likes to watch Back to the Future, I don't like to watch it with him. Like, I've seen it. That's enough. I'm done. I don't need to see it again. I know it hurts you. I'm sorry. Like, I don't get it. Like, I think the Back to the Future movies are good movies, but they just don't resonate with me. They just don't. And Jurassic Park always has. Always has. Like, the first Jurassic Park movie was so impactful when I saw it growing up. Like, it put a huge footprint onto what movies mean to me and what I enjoy about movies. And even though
dinosaur print.
Exactly. And even, I know people don't like Jurassic Park 3. That's fine. I have fun with it. I love being in the world of Jurassic Park. I love being with those characters. I think it's fun. Like, if I'm going to pick a movie to put on, I'm going to put on a Jurassic Park movie rather than a Back to the Future movie. Like, I think it's just what I grew up with. I didn't grow up with Back to the Future. I saw it when I was older. And it's a good movie, but like, like, anytime he suggests putting on Back to the Future, I'm like, oh, it's so boring. I don't want to do it. So I'm picking Jurassic Park 3.
I feel so validated right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jesse?
All right, I got props.
Oh boy.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
No.
Oh, Lord help us. Oh.
This is hard.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. I mean, we're not
Alex
comparing it to the
Silvestri or
first.
John Williams. That's a tough choice.
Yeah, but we're not doing this one.
Oh, he didn't do 3, did he? You know what? That makes it that much easier. Dinosaurs, where we're going, we don't need dinosaurs.
Oh.
That's the take.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're going Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Okay.
Marisol?
Yeah. I mean, kind of like you're saying. I mean, I do have a soft spot, clearly, for the Jurassic Park franchise. But also, I also grade them harder, I think, because like I don't know. I guess I feel like they're like my children, and because they're like my children, I'm like, you just disappointed me so much. Like, like I'm harder on them, I think, rather than giving them the benefit of the doubt.
You're not mad, you're just disappointed.
Exactly.
Ugh.
And until Fallen Kingdom came out, Jurassic Park 3 was absolutely the weakest one in the series for me. And that, on top of that, you compare that next to Back to the Future, which I think is it is the definition of a modern classic. Like, I think it's in the dictionary next to modern classic films.
Next to the original Jurassic Park.
Right there next to the original Jurassic Park. But yeah, it's and Raiders of the Lost Ark, obviously. It's yeah. Back to the Future is a no-brainer. It's oh goodness me. What is happening? Hey, I'm not. Look, it's. You know what? I've seen this. That being said, I've probably seen Jurassic Park 3 as many times as I've seen Back to the Future. I've watched them both that much. And Jurassic Park 3 is so silly that it's legitimately fun to watch. Even for people who think it's a poor film, I think it's legitimately fun to watch. There's so much crazy shit that happens in that movie that you've never seen in any of the other Jurassic Park movies. Like you hear a phone ring in a dinosaur's stomach from oh god. You hear that one of the silliest things I think in the whole movie, besides the raptor, the talking raptor, which is just a dream. Anyways, first off, the talking raptor, at least that's a dream and that's hallucination. It's nowhere near as dumb as the shit that happens with the Raptor Bros in the new Jurassic World movies, and then like fist bumping Chris Pratt in those new movies. So I'll take hallucinating talking raptor in a dream over Blue in the new ones. But yeah, pretty easily Back to the Future. I have so many fun, stupid memories with Jurassic Park 3, but Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies ever. It's such a classic.
This show has made me out myself. I've been very quiet about my unpopular Back to the Future opinions until we started the show, and now I have to be like, well, modern classic, really? I don't know.
I'm here to support you every step of the way, Taylor.
Dan and Mara.
So we are of a like mind on this. So Mara has elected me to speak.
I mean ice cream.
And she's eating ice cream. One of the 7 things in the house that she can eat. Yeah, I mean, Jurassic Park I'm kind of a hybrid of a lot of people, because I think the average age on the show skews a little younger, Mara included. Where I was young enough when Jurassic Park came out that it was massively influential on my life. But I'm old enough that by the time Jurassic Park 3 came out, I was like, ugh. So that was never a big one for me, and I think that Mara enjoy it, right? She likes it. But Back to the Future is we both love that movie. Again, that was one of the few, along with Batman 1989, in my household that was on repeat. It was on repeat all the time on VHS. We've watched it together several times. And
we
just
got the picture in the closet to be hung up.
Oh yeah, we still have a Back to the Future thing to get hung up. It's just something that we both love and both talk about, and we do have a Jurassic Park poster. Yeah,
our posters should fight Jesse's posters.
Yeah, our posters can fight Jesse. I also think, just personally, I think that Back to the Future is one of the best structured movies. Like, I'm not going to qualify it, but I mean, just like as far as like setup and callback and payoff, setup and payoff as well, and just like putting little things in there that you can catch the second or third or the fourth time. And Christopher Lloyd, my God, that's just like, people don't give Christopher Lloyd enough credit for that performance as Doc Brown, because it's like, oh, that's just Christopher Lloyd. Like, no, that's like a really like amazing comedic performance. Yeah, it's neither of us have a lot of hate for Jurassic Park 3, but it's Back to the Future for Mara and myself.
A house united.
Yes, a house united.
Well, and with that, Back to the Future does make it through. All right, we get to the final one of the night. This is the argument. This is the one where everyone, you can all collectively say it. Terminator 2, Judgment Day versus Lord of the Rings.
Should we say it on 3?
I need to get this button.
Okay, are you gonna start this since you're putting everyone into this? Are you gonna take this
I'll
on?
start. Yeah, I'll start. I'll start so you guys can all collect your thoughts and think about it.
Can I pose a suggestion?
I already have my vote.
What if we actually have, based on if everyone knows what they're voting for, obviously we don't have to do this, but for people that are somewhat torn like myself, what if we had a very small group discussion just about these films, and then that might clarify for me what I want to vote for?
Yeah, we can. I mean,
Like,
we can
I
you just started off.
Okay, so I think I really, really do love Terminator 2. I think Terminator 2 is a fantastic movie by James Cameron. I think what he does is he takes all the elements of the first Terminator that work incredibly well and ups the stakes incredibly and just lifts them and makes a genre-defining 90s action film. The Two Towers, however, has, to me, the action sequence, the battle sequence of film. And I don't think any film has ever gotten close to matching what Helm's Deep is. And the structure of that action and the absolute just elation of that moment coming together is absolutely incredible. And I could rewatch Two Towers over and over again constantly. I can also rewatch Terminator 2 Judgment Day constantly. For an absolutely arbitrary reason that makes no sense whatsoever, I think I would be picking Two Towers. And it's probably also got more to do with the fact that I think Terminator 2 is Cameron's third or fourth best movie, whereas in Two Towers is probably Peter Jackson's best movie. I'm the wheel. I look, Titanic, I think, is James Cameron's best movie, and then Aliens is up there, and also True Lies. I'm the weird
Trying
one.
to pick at reasons to
I'm
pick something.
trying to pick something here.
I agree that these two movies are excellent. Neither one of them is a bad movie.
Man, they're both great movies.
Yeah.
It's-
Marisol?
Yeah, no. Yeah, like it's of course, yeah, it's not a matter of, it's
For Brian.
it's choosing between children again, but it's not like one is disappointing me. It's just that, like, they both graduated with honors, and I just have to prove which one is, I think, I don't know, a little more attractive. I don't know. You have to pick like something just superficial. To be completely honest, I just have to cut through the old crap cake here and just be completely honest. T2 is one of those movies that I factor in. Maybe it's my age. No, it's not my age, because Jurassic Park came out a couple years after, and that's my favorite movie of all time. So it's not my age. But T2 is one of those movies where I also apply the way everybody else feels about it, the way it's received and perceived publicly. I always factor that in to my, it happens, but it is one of those films where I factor in how much everybody, the reverence that people talk about it and discuss it with, and talk about its importance and its place in film, and how it's one of the defining action films of not only the 90s, but just the modern age. It's always the context of T2 that, always kind of bleeds into how I think about it. I do think it's a terrific film. Would I personally pick it over the Two Towers? No, I have so much more of a personal connection to the Two Towers. And maybe that's just what it comes down to. I do think, I think with my voting, that's what it comes down to. But even objectively speaking, I think both are incredible. If you speak about legacy and in terms of technical achievements, both absolutely deserve credit for different reasons. But what you're saying about the Two Towers exists in the whole, you can't talk about any single one of the Lord of the Rings films without talking about the entire production of the trilogy, because you can't separate it. The trilogy was all made at once. It is an ongoing, it's one gargantuan ongoing production. And maybe on a technical level, maybe, like you're saying, Jacob, because of Battle of Helm's Deep, Two Towers might be one of the standouts in terms of what you can accomplish with the combination of digital effects, miniatures, all of that. And the accomplishments, when you just stack them side by side with technical accomplishments, I know it's really easy to point out the T-1000 as being a revolutionary step forward in special effects. And a lot of the combinations of digital and practical effects in T2 and the staging of some of those action sequences. But I still think that if you hold them side by side, I think Two Towers is a little bit more impressive. And tie that in with it's also a personal favorite of mine because of the Lord of the Rings series, which are very close to my heart and resonate with me more than the Terminator series does. So I have to pick the Two Towers.
Lauren.
This one, it's hard and it's not. T2 is an excellent film. What Linda Hamilton did for women in film can't be overstated. She's an icon, and I am grateful all the time for what she's done for women in film. That being said, I think I mentioned it in maybe the first one of these. Hi, buddy. Two Towers is my favorite Lord of the Rings film. I think from top to bottom, it's a near perfect film. And it's another one I don't feel good about because I in no way have any bad feelings about Terminator 2 whatsoever. I don't think I could find a bad thing about it. This is one that doesn't feel good. But Two Towers, I think, is so excellent and so personal and close to my heart that I can't not pick it. So it's with a heavy heart that I pick Two Towers. It's not one I feel good about, but that's my choice.
Taylor.
All right, I can go. I feel like I have the least amount of.
Okay. Okay. I'll go to Jesse after that.
I'm still kind of going over and figuring in my head. It's hard because I love both these movies. It's my favorite of each franchise pitted against each other. That's difficult. We've seen that Return of the King is going on a war path that will not be ending anytime soon. For me, this is Terminator's only real chance in this tournament. There's so many different things that I consider that I keep going like this and I can't really pick one because every time I think of a reason why Two Towers should go forward, I think of another reason that T2 should. And Terminator 2 is better than it has any right to be because it's basically a Schwarzenegger action flick when you boil down to it. But there's so many things that are explored in it, like a very broken family, the idea of consequence and sacrifice when you talk about like Miles Dyson and everything going on with Skynet and the exploration of like how present events can affect the future and make things happen differently. And like building a bond with the machine is a really interesting aspect that's explored there.
It's also like very funny.
It is. It's got some really good funny moments and a lot of F-bombs from Furlong in it. I love that movie. And Two Towers is just masterpiece of cinema, whether it is the effects, the amount of practical effects, Helm's Deep. Everyone said everything there's to say about it. So it really has to boil down to a logistical vote, and it is Terminator's only shot in this tournament is T2. Return of the King is going to crush a lot of people before we get to the end.
Two Towers is better than Return of the King.
Yeah, but not according to like the general public. So I think if we're going off that, I think Return of the King will go farther than Two Towers would go if I were to put Two Towers forward. So it's Judgment Day, but I don't feel good. I feel real queasy about it.
We'll jump in here because we're gonna keep the momentum because Mara and I discussed this is ultimately Mara's decision.
We're talking who made me understand more why.
Right, we discussed it. But we are a bit of a house divided here because Two Towers is Mara's favorite Lord of the Rings movie. It's my least favorite Lord of the Rings movie, and it's only just because, like, when I'm in the middle of watching them, it's like, Helm's Deep is great, the beginning of the movie is great, and then you cut to Fangorn Forest, and I just anything with Treebeard, I'm just like, oh my god, please get to the end of this scene. It's just not my thing. That's fine. It's a bigger problem with me in fantasy, and I love the movie. Don't get me wrong, I friggin' love all the movies, but Two Towers has always been my least favorite. But that doesn't matter because it's Mara's decision. So we discussed it, and I think for Mara, the thing that puts T2 ahead is that yes, it's great action, it's great effects, All the reasons that everybody else has said, but it also is number one, Sarah Connor, one of the best action heroes of all time, man or woman.
With an honest portrayal of PTSD and mental illness.
Yeah, there's an actual exploration of post-traumatic stress syndrome and mental illness
And the
and
effects on the
emotion.
people you love.
Yeah, and how it affects people you love and the emotion of the movie. The fact that I know now you cry. It's something I can never do. Just the concept of human emotion and this idea of a learning machine coming through and understanding like what human emotion is and the journey and everything. It's very artful. It's weird to say, but it's a very artful story. We just rewatched it for my show a few weeks ago, and it still holds up. So Mara's vote also is for Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
All right. Adam's
spicy.
Taylor, actually, I'm going to go to you.
Okay. How are we doing this? Like,
so currently it is it is 3 for Two Towers and 2 for T2.
right. So is it me and Adam, and that's the votes? Okay, just making sure because it's a little bit of a weird dynamic we have going on right now. This is tough for me because I don't know. Terminator is another franchise that I've only gotten into recently. It's not something that's had a big impact on me, but I didn't see any of the Lord of the Rings films until I was 20. So it's kind of one of those things where neither of them have that like nostalgia factor for me, which makes it interesting. I feel like I don't have these big, huge, beautiful reasons that everybody else kind of has. It's more just, when I saw it, like, where did my heart just kind of go? Oh, that's what I'm gonna pick.
Yeah.
And it would just be Two Towers. I don't really have a big fancy reason. I just kind of looked at it and I was like, I think it's Two Towers for me.
And Adam voted, ultimately, I'll say the Two Towers because of the scope and passion I have for the story. But T2 undoubtedly blew the doors off modern event filmmaking. Random brackets, my ass blundered. Yeah, that's fair. This actually was genuinely random. I will say that. This was genuinely random. But with that, the Two Towers does make it through. And unfortunately, we do say goodbye to Terminator 2. Guys, that's
wait. Dan was gonna say something.
Oh, no, I was gonna say I also didn't see Return of the King till I was 20, but that's because it came out when I was 20.
Fair enough. Touche.
Guys, that's this week's brackets.
We survived.
We
kinda
survived. All right, now. This is next week's. These are the films for next week.
Oh, I'm scared. What do we got?
Let me open so that I can see.
Spider-Verse.
Alien, Atomic Blonde, Alien Covenant, Batman and Robin, the 2005 Fantastic Four, Ghost World, Guardians of the Galaxies Volume 2, Prometheus, Hellboy, Jonah Hex, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Road to Perdition, Predators, The Amazing Spider-Man, Red, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse, Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, Spider-Man, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, Thor The Dark World, Terminator Dark Fate, TMNT, Suicide Squad, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, The Phantom, The Star Wars The Last Jedi, Superman The Quest for Peace, V for Vendetta, and X-Men Origins Wolverine. And I'm going to give you guys a real quick taste of some of the matchups.
Oh, I'm scared.
I mean, there's got to be Spider-Man on Spider-Man going. Yeah, there's got to be some Spider-Man on Spider-Man.
If you guys do Far From Home against Spider-Verse, I'm going to be pissed.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel really spiteful. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is next week.
I'm gonna upset some people.
We will see you next week. Jesse and Laura, where can people find you guys online?
Online right now, pretty much here because we got so much going on.
Welcome to our empty apartment.
Yeah, we're working on it. It's a process, but I do have my movie podcast channel, which is the Flick in Real Fancast. So it's flick-in-real, REEL. You can follow me on there. I will have some more content coming soon. We're just getting settled and getting back with the program and onto a regular schedule. But please subscribe. We're on our way to 200 subscribers and want that, please.
And I'm just there sometimes.
Yeah, it's my cheerleader.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us today, and we will see you next week. Marisol, where can we find you online?
Very few places. I operate in the shadows and I don't go online. But when I do, I sometimes tweet or I mostly just kind of write about the movies I watch on Letterboxd. Both handles are the same, Marisol_Mariah, MIRIAH. And then the only other place you can really find me is answering movie trivia questions in the Schmodown and doing that as Lady Justice. And I'm playing for the belt next month. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, thanks, Mara. We will see you next. Not Mara.
You
Marisol.
always interchange them as the same person.
2.5 hours, and I'm very tired. Thank you, Marisol. And Dan and Mara, where can we find you guys?
You can find Marisol and I here on. No, you can find Mara on Twitter @thatMara.
You'll also find me unconscious in my bed for the next
You'll
several
find her
weeks.
unconscious in bed for a little while. Yeah, we're gonna hopefully get some healing done
We're
in
calling
the next
the
week or
doctor
so.
again
We may
tomorrow.
go to the doctor again. I don't know yet, but hopefully
we're
by
going.
next week she will be in a much better shape. Hopefully we don't even need me to be her mouthpiece next
Actually,
week.
Dan had a special request.
I have a special
Ooh.
request.
Since it's so much Spider-Man next week and he loves Spider-Man, can he come and hang out even if I don't need an interpreter?
Absolutely. Dan's always invited. He's absolutely always more than welcome to join these
Thank
shows.
you. Well, I don't have to do this podcast every week anymore, and so I actually have time to, hang out and do stuff. So yeah, I'd like to come observe because that's some interesting films.
No, you are always more than welcome to join. Absolutely more than welcome. And we thank you so much for coming on through this at the moment while you're going through all this. It really does mean the world to us. Absolutely. So
We just love hanging out.
Yeah.
It's always a fun time.
So thank you so much. And guys, we will see you next week. So thank you very much for joining.
All
That was
right.
fun.
We made it.
We did. We
did
made it through round bracket number 2 of 8.
You didn't get a ton of fuck you, Jacobs,
No,
this
I didn't.
week.
Not
So
this week.
you're
Next week, maybe.
next week maybe. After that, definitely. We're luring people into a false sense of security. It's only going to get worse as this goes on and things actually go up against each other.
Yep.
But we're just having some fun for now. It's
At the moment.
I mean, I
It
think
is.
it's fun at least.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Well, if you guys down in the description below, we do have the audio versions of these episodes. So if you want to listen to an audio podcast for this, they are in the description below. And I do want to say Adam Collins will be back next week. Him and Video Drew will be doing a David Lynch look-through podcast when we launch our new series, Inside the Iconography. It's coming the end of this month, and I'm very excited for that, where we go through a director's entire filmography. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun new show
It
where
is.
I'm very excited to start off with both of those guests. Speaking of guests, all of the links for the guests we've had today are down in the description. If you want to find them on social media or check out their projects just to make it easier for you, you can have a look down there and you'll be able to find them. Ours are down there as well as usual, so you can find us there.
Yeah. Well, guys, until then, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us today. And this was a lot of fun.